Today, we're going to dig into an incredible story of sacrifice, legacy, and how one small piece of land in Seoul was completely transformed, all because of one man, Dr. John Heron. This is the third week of June's Mission History, brought to you by Pastor James Huang.
So let me ask you, have you ever been there to Yanghwajin? If you have, you already know what a peaceful, almost sacred place it feels like. And if you haven't, you really should go. It's a place where you can just feel the history and, in a way, meet the amazing people buried there.
Now, to really get this story, you have to understand the location itself. Yanghwajin, sitting right there on the banks of the Han River, has this, well, it's like it has a split personality. Two totally different histories, one written in blood and the other in honor.
I mean, the contrast is just so stark. On one hand, this was a place for brutal public executions. The Regent Hongsan Daewanggun ordered the killing of Catholic believers right here. It's also where the reformer Kim Ok-gyun was executed after a failed coup, so just a place of incredible violence. And yet, today, it's this sacred ground, a quiet resting place for hundreds of missionaries who gave their lives to Korea.
So that's the big question, right? How does a place like that become this? Well, the answer doesn't start with some grand design. It starts with a tragedy, the heartbreaking death of a young doctor.
And that brings us to the man at the heart of this transformation, Dr. John Heron. To understand why his death changed everything, you really have to understand the life he chose to live.
So let's get to know him. John Heron was, well, he was brilliant. No other way to put it. Born in England, moved to the States as a teen, and then just aced medical school, graduating at the very top of his class. A comfortable, respected life was basically handed to him on a silver platter.
And this is the choice that defines his entire life. His university literally offered him a professorship. Can you imagine? The chance to teach, to have a celebrated career, security, the whole thing. But he turned it down. He felt a different calling, a pull to serve in a small, far-off nation on the other side of the planet known then as Joseon.
So he makes this incredible choice, and in 1885 he arrives in Korea ready to get to work. What happened next was 5 years of just relentless, selfless dedication. He steps into this huge role as the second director of Jejungwon, the very first modern Western hospital in the entire country, and he just poured everything he had into it. He treated a never-ending line of patients, working himself to the bone, often completely forgetting to take care of himself.
And you know, this same dedication, this incredible drive that saved so many people, it would tragically be the very thing that cost him his own life.
The conditions back then were tough, really tough, and disease was everywhere. While he was treating his patients, Dr. Heron caught a severe case of infectious dysentery. The very work he came to do was what made him so terribly sick. He was only 34 years old, just 34. A brilliant doctor with so much more to give, and his life was cut short right in the middle of his service. But even in his final moments, his faith and his purpose were unshakable. You know what his last act was? He gathered his hospital staff, the people he'd worked with day in and day out, and he shared the gospel with them one last time. And then, his work on this earth was finished. But his death, as tragic as it was, created a brand new problem. A really practical one, actually. Where could they possibly bury him? And that dilemma? Well, it would lead to an extraordinary new beginning for Yanghwajin.
Okay, so here's the situation they were in. First, the law was clear. No burials inside the capital city walls. Period. The official cemetery for foreigners was way out in Jumulpol, which is modern-day Incheon. But it was the middle of a blazing hot summer. Transporting a body that far just wasn't going to work. So, the American minister, a guy named Horace Allen, went directly to the Korean government and asked for a piece of land closer to Seoul. And in a really amazing gesture of goodwill, the government granted them a plot of land on a hill overlooking the Han River. And that land was Yanghwajin.
And just like that, this place, known for executions, was about to receive its very first resident of a completely new kind.
Dr. Heron's grave became the first. The same ground that was once stained with the blood of martyrs became the final, honored resting place for a man who gave his life in service. His death literally transformed Yanghwajin forever, turning a symbol of persecution into a beacon of sacrifice and love.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Dr. Heron was the first, but over 400 other missionaries and their families would eventually be buried alongside him, each with their own story. His single grave marked the beginning of an incredible legacy, reminding us all that sometimes the end of one life is actually the seed for a story that will last for generations.
Pastor James Huang, who served as a missionary in China and now ministers in Maryland, USA, is a researcher of Korean mission history. He shares from his book, Remember and Repay, a 52-week mission devotional every week.